Hello everyone, very good evening to all of you. This is Anjali, your mentor for English, and I would like to welcome each one of you on our Testbook SuperCoaching class. And I hope आप लोग सब बढ़िया हो. मेरी आवाज़ आप लोगों तक पहुंच रही है everybody? Am I audible to all of you? Am I visible to all of you? सब सही है? We are good to go here. ठीक है. सो स्टूडेंट्स, जैसा कि आप जानते हैं यहाँ पर हम लोग कर रहे हैं यूजीसी नेट का जो इंग्लिश लिटरेचर का पेपर है उसकी तैयारी, राइट. सो इसके पहले भी हम लोगों ने काफ़ी सारे ईयर्स के जो पेपर है उसको अटेम्प्ट किया है. एंड जब हम लोग बात करते हैं प्रीवियस ईयर के क्वेश्चंस की, तो आई थिंक मुझे लगता है ये एक बहुत बेहतर तरीका है जो आपको आइडिया मिलता है कि जो आपके क्वेश्चंस आ चुके हैं एग्जामिनेशन में वो कैसे आए हैं, कहाँ से आए हैं, राइट. सो येस, आई होप आपको एक ओवरऑल आइडिया तो मिलता ही है कि इन क्वेश्चंस का आंसर करना कैसे है, ठीक है. तो मैं आपको धीरे धीरे करके एक एक क्वेश्चन यहाँ पर शो करने वाली हूँ, सो दैट यू विल बी हैविंग सम आइडिया कि इन क्वेश्चंस को अप्रोच कैसे करना है, व्हाट आर द वेज इन विच आई कैन attempt these question. So let me show you the very first question of today's session that is there on your screen. सभी बच्चे एक बार जल्दी से इसे देखेंगे और मुझे बताएंगे इसका करेक्ट आंसर होगा क्या. Okay, so this was the very first question. Let us start discussing it. Which of the following new critics put forward the idea of heresy of paraphrase? So who was that person? Alan Tate, Clint Brooks, W.K. Wimsatt और Monroe C. Birdsley. तो मुझे लगता है कि लास्ट क्लास में हमने एक रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन किया हुआ था स्टूडेंट्स, वेयर वी डिस्कस्ड अबाउट दिस. द राइट आंसर इज गोइंग विथ ऑप्शन नंबर 2, क्लिंट ब्रूक्स. Okay, so let's have a quick discussion on this part कि इस पूरे essay में था क्या. Like Clint Brooks in this essay, the heresy of paraphrase, he tries to put forward is the reductionist attempt to transfer poetic meaning to a prose statement. जैसे कि descriptive हो गया, thematic expression हो गया, ठीक है. तो ये सारी चीज़ें वहाँ पर इंटरप्रेट की गई थी. So such descriptive और thematic interpretative is to do injustice to a poem. It is one's failure to recognize the poem as a poem. मतलब एक तरीके से फेलियर डिपिक्ट करने के लिए जो है ना, इस हेयर्सी ऑफ पैराफ्रेज को उन्होंने डिपिक्ट किया था. ही हैज शोन इन दैट वे. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं स्टूडेंट्स, दैट इज देयर ऑन योर स्क्रीन. प्लीज गो अहेड. क्वेश्चन कहता है हमारा, Edmund Spencer's Colin Clouds Come Home Again is a fine example of carpe diem, sonnet sequence, Georgic poetry या pastoral eclogue. Now you must be having some idea about all these four, then only you are going to give me the right answer for this. So let me take you towards the right answer here. तो हमारा आंसर जा रहा है ऑप्शन नंबर 4 की तरफ, दैट इज पैस्टोरल एक्लॉग. नाउ व्हाट वाज दैट? विल हैव अ क्विक लुक अबाउट दैट. Colin Clouds Come Home Again, also known as Colin Clouds Come Home Again, is a pastoral poem by the English poet Edmund Spencer, and it was published in 1595. It has the focus of little critical attention in comparison with the poet's other works, जैसे कि Fairy Queen. Yet it has been called the greatest pastoral eclogue in the English language. In a tradition going back to Petrarch, the pastoral eclogue contains a dialogue between shepherds. By pastoral eclogue hai, so obviously shepherd will come into the picture, with a narrative or song as an inset, and which also can conceal allegories of a political or ecclesiastical nature. तो ये था इस पूरे जॉनर के बारे में आपको थोड़ा सा आइडिया. ठीक है. सो इट वॉज अगेन पैस्टोरल eclogue. Yes. Next question on your screen, everybody. Okay, the question says here, in an essay of dramatic poesy, whom does John Dryden refer to as the most learned and judicious writer which any theatre ever had? So it was John Webster, Christopher Marlowe, Ben Jonson या William Shakespeare. So the right answer is going with option number 3rd, that is Ben Jonson. So he was the most learned and judicious writer जिसको रेफर किया गया था जॉन ड्राइडन के द्वारा. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑन योर स्क्रीन एवरीबडी. अगेन लेट मी टेल यू, ये हम 2017 के पेपर को कर रहे हैं सॉल्व यहाँ पर. Okay. So the question here says, This Australian poet was raised in New South Wales, and he grew up in a rural Australian landscape. Sorry. In 1946, she published her first book of poems. In 1962, she became co-founder and president of the Wildlife Preservation Society of Queensland and served as its president several times hereafter. Identify the poet. So that poet was Judith Wright. He was raised outside Armidale in Australia's most populous state, New South Wales. She grew up in rural Australian landscape students, were the oldest child of the three in well-off and literate family. 1946 में the editor of Mean Gene published Wright's first book of poems, The Moving Image. So that was the first one. ये आपके लिए एक important information है. The Moving Image, a major success in Australian poetry. 2 years before, Wright had met her husband, the philosopher J.P. McKinney, who was a large influence on Wright's work. Before McKinney died in 1966, he and Wright became the parents of one daughter. In 1962, she became co-founder and president of this Wildlife Preservation Society and served as the president several times thereafter. In this capacity, she was instrumental in the effort to save the Great Barrier Reef located off Australia's northeastern coast. So this was a brief introduction about her. Next question on your screen. Hi Shehzada Saif. I hope you are doing well. Very good evening to you. Yes. So for this, Afra Ben's Orunok is set in where? Suriname, Abyssinia, Egypt, या Azaira. So the right answer is going with option number 1, Suriname. तो देखो, this tale was from the perspective of a female narrator. ठीक है? So this tale was actually from the perspective of a female narrator, possibly Afra Ben herself. So the narrator claims to have known Urunuko during his captivity in Suriname, South of America. Suriname is a British colony at the time the narrative takes place. As the novel's full title announces, Orunuko is not just any old slave. He is the last descendant of a royal line and prince of an African country called Coromantine, probably modern name Ghana. तो मतलब ये speculation है कि वो mostly वो घना के last prince थे. So this is it. ठीक है? We'll go towards the next point, next question, everybody. But before going towards that, I would like to draw your attention towards this very important information. आप सबको मैं बता दूं कि यहाँ पर आप जो भी स्टूडेंट्स तैयारी कर रहे हैं UGC नेट की, यू ऑल कैन टेक दिस सब्सक्रिप्शन. ये वन स्टॉप सोल्यूशन है आप सभी बच्चों के लिए, जो मॉक टेस्ट, स्टडी नोट्स, लाइव क्लासेस, वीडियो कोर्सेज सभी का एक्सेस मिल रहा होता है. Along with that, you can have the access of all the classes from your super teachers too, Meenakshi Dwivedi ma'am, Azam sir, Zenith Education, as well as Lakshya Academy, who are going to help you, guide you with their expertise and skill. फिलहाल अगर हम इस की प्राइस की बात करते हैं स्टूडेंट्स, तो राइट नाउ द प्राइसिंग इज़ 15,399. बट इज़ दिस द फाइनल प्राइस? नो स्टूडेंट्स. जैसे ही आप ये मेरा कूपन कोड इस्तेमाल करते हैं ANJALI, आपको मिलता है 35% का डिस्काउंट हियर. बट इतना ही नहीं, अगर ये सब्सक्रिप्शन आप आज लेते हैं तो ये वैलिडिटी सिर्फ 12 महीने के लिए नहीं, एक्सटेंड हो रही है और 12 महीने के लिए. सो दिस ऑफर इज़ वैलिड ओनली फॉर टुडे. दिस होल ऑफर इज़ वैलिड ओनली फॉर टुडे. आज अगर आप ये ट्रांजैक्शन करते हैं तो इसकी सब्सक्रिप्शन आपको 1 साल के लिए नहीं 2 साल के लिए मिलती है. तो यू कैन अनलॉक ऑल दीज फीचर्स फॉर 2 years. तो स्टूडेंट्स, अभी तक अगर आप लोगों ने डिसाइड कर लिया है, यू आर गोइंग टू मेक इट, यू आर गोइंग टू enroll in this. तो बिल्कुल भी देर मत कीजिए. Again, let me remind you, this is the coupon code which you need to use here. ठीक है, ये रहा अगला क्वेश्चन आपकी स्क्रीन के ऊपर. The question here says, who published the first collected edition of Gerard Manley Hopkins poems in 1918? So it was option number 1, Robert Bridges. So Robert Bridges was the first one who published this whole collected edition of Gerard Manley Hopkins. We'll have just a quick discussion about the same thing. At the end of the first week of September 1917, Robert Bridges wrote to Mrs. Manley Hopkins, Gerard Hopkins' mother, I have had lately some very authoritative appeals for the Robert Bridges publication for of all Gerard's poetical remains. The Spirit of Man one has a wide sale and his poems in it have commanded a good deal of attention. मतलब उन्होंने उनकी मम्मी को ये इन्फॉर्म किया, ठीक है. He goes on to relate how that very afternoon he had met a man just arrived from Petrograd who was very urgent about having a complete edition. Just who this man was and how he came to know of Hopkins and read his poetry remains a mystery. But he obviously made a forceful impression upon Bridges, and is tempting to think that Bridges' use of urgent might not be a euphemism. मतलब बस दिखावे के लिए नहीं था, बढ़ा चढ़ा कर बोलने के लिए नहीं था, actually उसमें कुछ सच्चाई भी थी, ठीक है. So that's what he has related here. Years of a manifestly indifferent approach to the printing of the poems. Indeed, Robert Bridges' apparent grudging interest in the publication of Hopkins' poetry was too many years neither very deep nor very serious. So he's just ये जो paragraph है, this is just giving an idea कि how it came to the light. ये publish जो है ना, ये हुआ कैसे. ओके, सो रॉबर्ट ब्रिज ने किसको जो है ना रिक्वेस्ट किया था, किसके पास लिखा था, मैनली हॉपकिंस हु वाज गेरार्ड हॉपकिंस मदर. लेट मी टेक यू टुवर्ड्स द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑन द स्क्रीन. Okay, the question says here, Samuel Richardson named his heroine Pamela after one of the characters in Dash. तो what was that plot जहाँ पर उन्होंने अपनी हीरोइन का नाम पामेला रखा था. So he was influenced by Philip Sidney's Arcadia. So that's how he named his heroine Pamela. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. क्वेश्चन कहता है पिंटो once admitted that he first became aware of the dramatic power of the pause from seeing a popular American comedian. Who was that comedian? Jack Benny. So Jack Benny को देखकर पहली बार उन्हें मालूम चला कि क्या बड़ा dramatic power हो सकता है एक pause का. Okay, so he admitted that he became aware of this dramatic power after seeing a popular American comedian. It was Jack Benny. As Pinto said in a lecture to students in 1962, my characters tell me so much and no more with reference to their experience, their aspirations, their motives, their history. But alongside that, he also showed that theatrical poetry is not an ornate verbal appendage. He proved it can be found in banalities. मतलब सिर्फ ये साज सज्जा के लिए नहीं है, मनोरंजन के लिए नहीं है, right? So it can be found in banalities, repetitions, evasions, even hiatuses of everyday speech. He became famous for his use of the pause, something he claimed to have learned from the comedian Jack Benny. But for Pinter, dramatic speech was also frequently a camouflage for unexpressed hidden emotion. So often, below the word spoken is the thing known and unspoken. तो उनका कहना था कि there is a deeper meaning to it. There is more, let's say, a thing जो हम बोलते नहीं है, but फिर भी it is still there. So he was quite impressed. He was quite, let's say, became aware of the importance of pause. Okay. Next question. Go ahead. Okay, so the question here says Charles Dickens' Bleak House is pointedly critical of England's what? England's Privy Council, Court of Appeal, Court of Chancery, या military courts. The right answer is going with option number 3, Court of Chancery. So Bleak House, it was a novel by Charles Dickens. It was published in as a series serially in 1852 to 53. In book form in 1853 and considered by some critics to be author's best work. मतलब लोगों ने इस नॉवल को चार्ल्स डिकन का बेस्ट वर्क भी माना. So it was the story of several generations of the Jarndyce family who wait in vain to inherit money from a disputed fortune in the settlement of the lawsuit of Jarndyce v. Jarndyce. It is pointedly critical of England's Court of Chancery, in which cases could drag on through decades of convoluted legal maneuvering. So that was all about a brief introduction about the Bleak House. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑन योर स्क्रीन एवरीबडी, ध्यान से देखिए. सो क्वेश्चन इज आस्किंग कि इसमें से कौन सा स्टेटमेंट ट्रू नहीं है. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट ट्रू ऑफ द आइडियल स्टेट इन थॉमस मोर्स यूटोपिया. तो यूटोपिया को लेकर कौन सा स्टेटमेंट गलत है स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ पे. यस, बताओ जरा. So our answer is going with option number third. There is only one religion guided by principle of a benevolent supreme being. So this was not the right statement here. देखो प्रॉब्लम क्या है इस स्टेटमेंट में, अभी समझते हैं. So there is only one religion guided by the principle of a benevolent supreme being. यूटोपिया का मतलब आप समझते हैं ना, like when we talk about a fantasy world. So utopia shelters numerous religions. So why are we talking about only one religion here? The people therein have belief in a single god, but the nature of that god is very different, ranging from a sort of animism to worship of an ancient hero, to worship of the sun, moon, to belief in a single omnipotent ineffable god. मतलब सभी लोगों की जो मान्यताएं हैं ना वो अलग अलग हैं. Okay. This last religion, according to Hythlode, is in the process of becoming dominant. Though all the religions practice complete tolerance of all the other religions. After Hythlode and his fellows spoke to the utopians about Christ, a good number converted and began to learn as much as they could. These converts also were treated with the utmost respect. ऐसा नहीं था कि जो convert हो रहे थे उनको गलत निगाहों से देखा जा रहा था at that time. So with utmost respect के साथ उनको भी treat किया जाता था by the faithful of other utopian religions. In fact, the only belief that is not tolerated is atheism. मतलब problem ये नहीं था कि तुम किसको follow कर रहे हो. Problem ये था कि तुम atheism follow नहीं कर रहे हो. मतलब you should have belief in your God, as it is seen as immoral. मतलब एथिज्म को फॉलो करना इमोरल वहां पर साउंड करता था. ठीक है. ओके, सो लेट्स गो टुवर्ड्स द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन दैट इज देयर ऑन योर स्क्रीन. Question here says, which character created by Coleridge makes the following account of her harrowing experience? 5 warriors seized me yestermorn, me, even me, a maid forlorn. They choked my cries with force and fright, and tied me on a palfrey white. So, what was that character's name, students? Geraldine, Christabel, Christabel's mother, or the maid who appeared in Christabel's dream? So, my answer is going with option number 1, Geraldine. So, this was the first part of Christabel poem. This was the first part of Christabel poem by whom? By Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who has written this in the year 1797 at Stowey in the country of Somerset. The second part, after my return from Germany in the year 1800 at Keswick, Cumberland, it is probable that if the poem had been finished at either of the former periods, or if even the first and second part had been published in the year 1800, the impression of its originality would have been much greater than it is at the present expect. ठीक है, तो इस हिसाब से काफ़ी ज़्यादा होता. ठीक है स्टूडेंट्स, फाइन है. In that case, I'll keep this session till here itself. That was about some of the important questions. अगर last session और आज के session की हम लोग बात करते हैं साथ में, तो we did here around 30 questions from our 2017 paper जो important थे, easy थे, और मुझे लगता है कि आप सभी लोगों ने कहीं ना कहीं देखा भी होगा that ये जो क्वेश्चंस आप कर रहे हैं बहुत ज़्यादा लेंदी नहीं है. सो आई हैव टाइम एंड अगेन एडवाइज्ड यू कि पहले आप ऐसे क्वेश्चंस को पकड़िए जो लग रहा है आपको कंफर्म है. मतलब रादर देन गोइंग फॉर द लेंदी क्वेश्चंस, कम से कम इसमें मैं थोड़ा समय भी मेरा कम लगेगा. आई विल बी एबल टू अटेंड मोर क्वेश्चंस, राइट? ठीक है, तो आई विल कीप दिस टिल हियर इटसेल्फ. अगली क्लास से मिलेंगे. अगली क्लास होगी हमारी कब? हमारी होगी अगली क्लास फ्राइडे को. सो हमारा जो क्लासेस होता है वो मंडे, वेंसडे एंड फ्राइडे को होता है शाम 6:30 बजे. ठीक है, तो आप लोग भूलेंगे नहीं अटेंड करना. इसके अलावा एक बात का ध्यान और रखिएगा स्टूडेंट्स कि ये जो प्रीवियस ईयर के क्वेश्चंस हैं, ये क्वेश्चंस आपको बहुत बार जो है ना एक बाउंड्री सेट करने में बहुत मदद करते हैं. दैट जो आपके क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं एग्ज़ाम में, जिस तरह के जो सिलेबस आपका काफ़ी वास्ट है ये तो आप जानते ही हैं. बाकी किस पोर्शन से सबसे ज़्यादा क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं, ये सब चीज़ों को भी समझने में बहुत मदद मिलती है, राइट? तो अगर आप इन क्वेश्चंस को एज अ रिवीजन सेशन भी पकड़ें, एक मॉक टेस्ट की तरह लीजिए, तो भी आपके लिए काफ़ी ज़्यादा बेनिफिशियल है. ठीक है, तो चलो मिलते हैं अभी हम लोग फ्राइडे को शाम 6:30 बजे. तब तक अपना ध्यान रखो. टेक केयर, बाय बाय.